The warning klaxons of Outpost 227 pierced the artificial night cycle, jerking lead engineer Naomi Harrison from her research console. The asteroid mining facility's sensors had detected an unknown vessel approaching their orbit, far larger than any routine supply ship. Through the reinforced viewing panels, she watched as a sleek, crystalline craft twice the size of their entire outpost decelerated into a stationary position. "Status report," she called out, her voice steady despite the tension crackling through the command center. The skeleton crew of third-shift operators worked their stations with practiced efficiency. "Unknown vessel configuration," reported Junior Officer Raj Patel, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "No match in our database. Energy readings are off the charts, Chief. Whatever this is, it's not human tech." Naomi squared her shoulders, her dark eyes fixed on the alien vessel. After 15 years on the frontier of human space, she'd known this day would come. First contact. But something in her gut told her this wasn't going to be the friendly meeting of civilizations they'd all hoped for. The main communications array crackled to life, projecting a figure that made every human in the room instinctively step back. The alien stood nearly 3 meters tall, its iridescent scales shifting colors in the holographic display. Multiple sets of compound eyes studied them with obvious disdain. "I am Commander Zyxtal of the Craxian Dominion," the being announced, its translator rendering the words in perfect English. "This system now falls under our protection. Your primitive mining operation will cease immediately." Naomi felt her jaw clench. The outpost represented humanity's furthest permanent settlement, processing rare minerals crucial for the next generation of faster-than-light drives. They'd spent a decade establishing themselves here, and she wasn't about to let some oversized insect chase them off. "This is Lead Engineer Harrison of Outpost 227, she responded, keeping her voice diplomatic. "We're an independent human operation with all proper permits filed with the Galactic Mining Registry. We've been here for 10 years without incident." The alien commander's scales rippled in what she assumed was amusement. "The registry holds no authority here. The Craxian Dominion has determined this sector requires civilization. Your species is young, barely spacefaring. You cannot hope to properly utilize these resources." "We've been doing just fine," Naomi countered. "Our operation is efficient and environmentally sound. We're happy to discuss trade agreements." "Trade? With primitives?" Zyxtal interrupted. "You mistake our presence for a negotiation. You have 6 hours to begin evacuation procedures. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force." The transmission cut off, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Naomi turned to her crew, seeing the same mix of fear and determination in their eyes that she felt in her gut. "Raj, get me a full scan of their ship. Every detail you can manage. Thermal, electromagnetic, gravitational distortions, everything." She turned to her chief of security. "Marcus, I want a full inventory of everything we could potentially use for defense. And I mean everything, mining charges, plasma cutters, atmospheric processors. If it can be repurposed, I want to know about it." "You're not thinking of fighting them, are you?" Marcus asked, his dark features creased with concern. "That ship could vaporize us with a single shot." Naomi allowed herself a grim smile. "They could have done that already. Instead, they're trying to intimidate us into leaving. That means they want something intact, either our equipment or the asteroid itself. And that gives us leverage." She walked to the central planning table, activating a holographic display of the outpost and surrounding asteroid field. "We've spent years mapping every chunk of rock out there. We know this territory better than anyone. And we've got something they don't expect." "What's that?" Raj asked, looking up from his scanner readings. "Human stubbornness," Naomi replied. "And about 10,000 tons of mining explosives they don't know about." She began marking key points in the holographic display. "Get everyone to emergency stations. If the Craxians want to learn about humanity, we'll give them one hell of a first lesson. As her crew scrambled to their tasks, Naomi studied the alien vessel through the viewport. Its crystalline surface caught the light of the system's distant sun, beautiful and terrifying. They were outgunned, outetched, and apparently outmatched in every conventional way. But conventional wasn't humanity's style. They'd survived and thrived on Earth by turning disadvantages into advantages, by seeing possibilities where others saw obstacles. Now, surrounded by the cold vacuum of space and faced with an alien ultimatum, Naomi felt that same innovative spirit rising to the challenge. The Craxians had made a crucial mistake. They'd assumed that humanity's relatively young age in space meant weakness. They were about to learn that sometimes, the youngest species are the ones with the most to prove, and the least to lose. Begin recording, she commanded the outpost system. All hands, this is Lead Engineer Harrison. In 6 hours, we're either going to make history or become history. Let's show these Craxians what humans are really made of. 6 hours felt like 6 minutes as Naomi and her crew transformed Outpost 227 from a mining facility into a makeshift fortress. The massive Craxian vessel loomed in their viewport like an approaching storm, its crystalline surface occasionally pulsing with energy that their sensors couldn't quite decode. "Chief, you need to see this," Raj called from his station. He'd been analyzing the scan data non-stop, his eyes red from staring at holographic readouts. Their hull, it's not just for show. Those crystal formations are some kind of energy focusing array. If I'm reading this right, they can redirect any energy that hits them. Naomi leaned over his shoulder, studying the complex patterns. So a direct attack would be worse than useless. They'd just turn our own power against us. She straightened up, a plan forming. What about the opposite? Could we overload their ability to process energy? Theoretically, but we'd need more power than our entire outpost can generate. A slight smile crossed Naomi's face. What about the thermal regulators from mining site C? The ones we use to prevent equipment meltdown near the asteroid's core. Understanding dawned on Raj's face. Those handle massive energy fluctuations, but we'd need someone to manually reconfigure them. The automatic controls won't work for what you're thinking. Marcus, Naomi called to her security chief. How's our inventory looking? Marcus projected a holographic list into the air. We've got about 12,000 tons of mining explosives, 40 plasma cutters, 15 industrial-grade shield generators we use for new tunnel construction, and enough spare parts to build almost anything, if we had time. What about the prototype? Naomi asked quietly. Marcus's eyes widened. The magnetic field manipulator. It's still experimental. Last test nearly tore a hole in the asteroid. Perfect. Naomi turned to address the entire command center. Listen up. The Craxians think we're just going to roll over and give up our home. They see our equipment as primitive, our position as weak. Time to show them why underestimating humans is a fatal mistake. She pulled up a 3D map of the asteroid field. Here's the plan. Marcus, I want those mining charges placed strategically throughout the debris field. Not to hit their ship, to create a very specific pattern of obstacles. Raj, you'll coordinate with the engineering team to modify those thermal regulators. We're going to give our friends up there more energy than they know what to do with. And the prototype? Marcus asked. That's our ace in the hole. If I'm right about their crystal hull technology, they've never encountered anything like our magnetic field manipulator. They're used to dealing with energy weapons, not fundamental force manipulation. A warning light flashed on the main console. The Craxian ship was launching smaller vessels, sleek, predatory craft that moved with impossible grace through the asteroid field. Patrol ships, Raj reported. 5 of them, heading for our major mining sites. Right on schedule, Naomi muttered. They want to secure our resources before destroying the main facility. Marcus, get your team moving. Raj, you have 15 minutes to get those regulators modified. I'll keep our scaly friends occupied. The command center erupted into activity as crew members rushed to their assignments. Naomi took a deep breath and opened a channel to the Craxian vessel. Commander Zywextal, she broadcast. This is Lead Engineer Harrison requesting a brief extension to coordinate our evacuation. We have sensitive equipment that requires proper shutdown procedures. The alien commander's hologram appeared, scales shimmering with what she now recognized as contempt. Your time is nearly expired, human. Though I admit surprise at your wisdom in choosing to surrender. We're full of surprises, Naomi replied diplomatically, watching on her private screen as Marcus's team began moving through the asteroid field. The Craxian patrol ships were so focused on the mining sites, they didn't notice the small maintenance pods slipping between shadows. Perhaps your species is not entirely without reason, Zywextal said. I will grant you 1 additional hour. After that, we will remove you by force if necessary. Very generous, Commander. Though I am curious, why this asteroid? There are others with similar mineral compositions in nearby systems. You quest for knowledge even now. Typical of your kind. The commander's scales shifted to a deep blue. This asteroid's unique magnetic properties make it ideal for our purposes. Properties your primitive mining operation cannot possibly comprehend. Naomi fought to hide her smile. They did understand those properties, far better than the Craxians realized. It was why they developed the prototype in the first place. Of course, Commander. We'll begin our shutdown procedures immediately. She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. Status? Charges are in place, Marcus reported. Ready on your signal. Regulators modified and powered up, Raj added. Whatever you're planning, Chief, we're ready. Naomi moved to the central console, her fingers hovering over the controls. Humanity didn't get to the stars by being stronger or more advanced than everyone else, she said quietly. We got here by refusing to quit, by turning disadvantages into advantages, and by being really, really good at improvising. She pressed the first sequence of commands. Throughout the asteroid field, mining charges began to detonate in a precise pattern, creating a cascade of debris and electromagnetic interference that forced the Craxian patrol ships into predictable evasive maneuvers. Let's show them what primitive humans can do. The asteroid field erupted in a choreographed dance of destruction. Mining charges detonated in precise sequence, creating not just debris but a complex web of electromagnetic disturbances. The Craxian patrol ships found themselves herded into increasingly narrow corridors of safe space, their crystalline hulls glinting as they dodged and weaved. Pattern recognition in their evasion algorithms, Raj reported, his fingers flying across his console. They're predictable, too predictable. Their AI handles threats exactly the same way every time. Naomi nodded, watching the tactical display. Biological creatures adapt. Machines just optimize. Marcus, time for Phase 2. The security chief activated his comm link. All teams, execute slingshot protocol. Throughout the asteroid field, modified thermal regulators powered up. These machines, normally used to prevent mining equipment from melting near the asteroid's core, now turned their considerable power outward. Waves of concentrated thermal energy pulsed through space, carefully timed to intersect with the Craxian patrol ship's predicted flight paths. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The patrol ship's crystalline hulls, designed to absorb and redirect energy, began to glow with captured heat. But the regulators kept pumping out more power, overtaxing the aliens' defensive systems. Commander Zywextal is hailing us, Raj announced. Put him through. Naomi straightened her uniform, keeping her expression neutral as the alien commander's hologram appeared. What treachery is this? Zywextal's scales had shifted to a burning red. You dare attack ships of the Craxian Dominion? Attack? "We're simply conducting emergency shutdown procedures of our mining equipment," Naomi replied innocently. "These old systems can be quite unstable. That's why we requested extra time." An explosion lit up the viewport as one of the patrol ship's energy containment systems failed. The vessel didn't destroy, instead, it hung dead in space, its crystalline surface clouded and dark. "You primitive, deceitful," Zewextal's hologram flickered. "This changes nothing. Your resistance only proves the need for Craxian oversight of this sector." The massive Craxian mothership began to move, its surface rippling with collected energy. Naomi felt the outpost shudder as the first warning shot passed nearby, deliberately missing but demonstrating their power. "All hands, brace for impact," she broadcast. "Raj, power up the prototype. Marcus, get your people back inside." The prototype magnetic field manipulator hummed to life in the outpost's core. It was an experimental device they developed to help with extracting ore from the asteroid's unique magnetic structures. In testing, it had proven too powerful, too difficult to control. Now, those same problems made it the perfect weapon. "Approaching ships from Vector 3, Raj warned. Looks like they're heavy assault craft." 3 larger vessels emerged from the mothership's hangar, their designs clearly built for combat rather than patrol. They moved with deadly purpose toward the outpost, weapons charging. "You had your chance for a civilized surrender," Zewextal's voice boomed through their comm system. "Now witness true power." Naomi smiled. "Funny. I was about to say the same thing." She turned to her crew. "Execute Operation Newton's Third." The prototype activated at full power, sending out waves of magnetic force that interfered with the very fabric of space around them. The assault craft's crystalline hulls, designed to absorb and redirect energy, found themselves battling with fundamental forces they weren't built to handle. "Their hulls are experiencing massive stress," Raj reported, excitement creeping into his voice. "The magnetic fields are treating their crystal matrices like tuning forks, setting up resonance patterns that..." The first assault craft's hull shattered, fragments of crystal spinning off into space as its systems failed. The other 2 ships immediately began retreat maneuvers, but the magnetic waves had already taken hold. "Impossible." Zewextal's hologram raged. "Your technology is inferior. You cannot." "Our technology isn't inferior, Commander," Naomi interrupted. "It's different. You've built your entire civilization around manipulating energy, making your ships nearly invincible to conventional attacks. But you never considered someone might attack the fundamental forces holding your ships together." The remaining assault craft succumbed to the magnetic waves, their hulls cracking and systems failing. None of the ships were destroyed. Naomi had calibrated the prototype carefully, but they were completely disabled. "This is your final warning," she continued. "The next wave will be directed at your mothership. Our primitive understanding of magnetic fields might not be enough to destroy you, but I guarantee it'll cause enough damage to make your superiors question your competence." Zewextal's scales shifted through multiple colors as the alien commander processed this reversal. You planned this. The charges, the thermal attacks, they were all to demonstrate our vulnerability." "Humans are good at finding weaknesses," Naomi agreed. "We've had to be. We're also good at offering second chances. Leave this asteroid, return to your territory, and we can pretend this never happened. Stay, and find out what else our primitive minds have come up with." The alien commander remained silent for a long moment, compound eyes studying Naomi with new awareness. Finally, its scales settled into a deep blue. Perhaps the Dominion has been hasty in its assessment of your species." The command center of Outpost 227 hummed with tense energy as Naomi faced the hologram of Commander Zewextal. The disabled Craxian vessels drifted in the asteroid field like broken crystal sculptures, their once proud hulls now clouded and cracked. "Your assessment of humanity has been flawed from the start," Naomi said, her voice firm but not unkind. We're young as a spacefaring species, yes. But age doesn't equal capability. You speak with wisdom beyond your species' years, Zyxtal admitted, scales shifting to a thoughtful green hue. But the Dominion cannot simply retreat. There would be consequences. Then let's find another solution, Naomi offered. One that benefits both our peoples. Before the commander could respond, Raja's voice cut through the conversation. Chief. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL at the system's edge. They're not Craxian. The tactical display lit up with new contacts. Sleek vessels of various designs emerged from hyperspace, representatives from other spacefaring races, drawn by the conflict like moths to a flame. The collective assembly, Zyxtal hissed, scales paling. They must have detected our weapons fire. Naomi recognized some of the ships from their database. The collective assembly was a loose federation of species that acted as peacekeepers in this sector of space. Their arrival complicated matters significantly. Commander, she said quickly, this doesn't have to end in diplomatic disaster for either of us. Explain. Your mission was to secure this asteroid's resources, correct? To ensure they're properly utilized. Naomi pulled up technical schematics on the holographic display. What if I told you we've barely scratched the surface of what's possible here? She highlighted the prototype magnetic field manipulator. This technology. It's in its infancy. We developed it specifically to work with this asteroid's unique properties. Properties that, as you pointed out, your people understand better than anyone. Understanding flickered across Zyxtal's alien features. You are proposing collaboration. A joint research initiative, Naomi confirmed. Your crystal technology combined with our magnetic field manipulation could revolutionize space travel, mining operations, even planetary defense systems. Instead of forcing us out, work with us. Learn from us, as we learn from you. The collective assembly ships were moving closer, their presence adding urgency to the negotiation. Zyxtal's scales rippled with rapid color changes as the commander considered the proposal. The Dominion has never partnered with a younger species, Zyxtal said slowly. Then it's time for the Dominion to evolve, Naomi pressed. Show them that true strength lies in adaptation, not just conquest. A new hologram appeared in the command center, a representative from the collective assembly. The being's form was ethereal, almost ghost-like, its voice resonating directly in their minds. We detected weapons fire in disabled vessels, the representative stated. Explain your presence in this neutral territory, Commander Zyxtal. Before the Craxian could respond, Naomi stepped forward. We were conducting a joint military exercise, she said smoothly. Testing the integration of Craxian and human defense technologies. The disabled vessels are part of the demonstration. Zyxtal's scales flickered in surprise, then settled into a calm blue. Indeed. The human engineers have shown remarkable innovation in adapting their technology to work with ours. The assembly representative's form shimmered. This is unexpected. The Craxian Dominion does not typically engage in collaborative exercises with emerging species. Times change, Zyxtal replied, drawing up to full height. The Dominion recognizes that progress often comes from unexpected sources. We are establishing a joint research initiative with the human outpost. Naomi held her breath as the representative studied them both. After what felt like an eternity, the ethereal being nodded. This is an encouraging development. We will observe your collaboration with interest. The hologram faded, and the assembly ships began to withdraw to a respectful distance. Once they were alone again, Zyxtal turned to Naomi. That was skillfully handled. Humans are good at improvising, she replied with a slight smile. And we're even better at turning potential enemies into allies. So it seems. The commander's scales shifted to a color she hadn't seen before, one that seemed to indicate respect. I will need to consult with my superiors about formalizing this, joint initiative. Of course. In the meantime, we should probably help your crews, Naomi gestured to the disabled ships. Our magnetic field technology may have damaged their vessels, but I bet your crystal expertise could help us repair them faster than either of us could alone. A practical first test of our collaboration, Sci-Fi agreed. Perhaps this is how new paths are forged among the stars. 3 weeks after the standoff, Outpost 227 had transformed. Where once there were only human mining operations, now crystalline structures merged seamlessly with human technology. Craxian engineers worked alongside human technicians, each learning from the other's approach to problems. Naomi stood in the newly expanded research lab, watching as a modified version of the magnetic field manipulator interacted with a Craxian crystal array. The combination produced effects that neither species had thought possible. Remarkable, Commander Sci-Fi observed, moving to stand beside her. The Craxian leader had remained on-site to oversee the collaboration, much to the surprise of both crews. Your people's tendency to experiment without fear of failure, it challenges everything we thought we knew about technological development. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from not knowing something's supposed to be impossible, Naomi replied, adjusting a control parameter. The crystal array pulsed with new energy, creating a stable magnetic corridor through space. Raj burst into the lab, his usual calm demeanor overtaken by excitement. Chief! The test results from the new hybrid drive system, they're beyond anything we projected. The Craxian crystals amplify our magnetic field by orders of magnitude while consuming half the power. A young Craxian engineer named Teleke followed close behind him, their scales flickering with matching enthusiasm. The two had formed an unlikely friendship, constantly pushing the boundaries of what their combined technologies could achieve. The applications extend far beyond mining operations, Teleke added, projecting a holographic model. With these modifications, we could revolutionize deep space exploration, planetary terraforming, even defensive capabilities. Sci-Fi's scales shifted to a thoughtful purple. The Dominion Council has been most interested in our progress reports. They were skeptical at first, but the results are undeniable. And how are they handling the change in perspective? Naomi asked carefully. The political implications of their collaboration had been a constant underlying tension. It has sparked quite the philosophical debate, Sci-Fi admitted. Some argue that our focus on technological superiority has blinded us to alternative approaches. Others see our collaboration as a sign of weakness. And what do you see it as, Commander? The alien leader was quiet for a moment, watching as human and Craxian crew members worked together seamlessly across the lab. I see it as evolution. The strongest species are not those with the most advanced technology or the longest history, but those willing to adapt, to learn, to see strength in differences. An alert chimed from the central console. Another ship was approaching, this one bearing the markings of the Galactic Mining Registry. Right on schedule, Naomi said. They're here to review our joint operation license application. The command center crew, now a mix of humans and Craxians, worked in perfect synchronization to guide the registry ship to their new docking facilities. 3 weeks ago, such cooperation would have seemed impossible. You know, Naomi said as they walked to meet the registry representatives, when you first arrived, I thought we were about to lose everything we'd built here. And I thought we were claiming resources from primitives, Sci-Fi responded, scales rippling with what she now recognized as embarrassment. Instead, we both gained something far more valuable. Knowledge? Naomi suggested. Understanding, the commander corrected. Your species showed us that true advancement comes not from dominating others, but from being willing to learn from them. It is a lesson the Dominion needed. They reached the airlock just as it cycled open, revealing the registry officials, a diverse group representing multiple spacefaring species. Their eyes widened at the sight of humans and Craxians standing together as equals. Welcome to Outpost 227, Naomi and Sci-Fi said in unison, sharing a moment of amusement at their synchronization. As they led the officials on a tour of their joint facility, Naomi reflected on how much had changed. What had started as a confrontation had evolved into something unprecedented, a partnership that was already reshaping the understanding of what was possible in space. The asteroid field around them sparkled with new purpose, human mining ships moving in concert with Craxian vessels, their combined techniques extracting resources with unprecedented efficiency. But the real treasure wasn't in the minerals they were mining, it was in the barriers they were breaking, the assumptions they were challenging, and the future they were building together. You know what the best part is? Raj commented as they passed the prototype lab, now expanded to 3 times its original size. We've only scratched the surface of what we can accomplish together. For once, both humans and Craxians agreed completely.